Hey, what's up, guys? So, knows best here. Last year, the Galaxy Note 7 was one of my favorite phones of the year, but of course, Samsung had probably one of the worst PR nightmares you can have with the phone when it was actually catching fire. And it got to the point that if you were to get on the plane, the flight attendants would single you out and say, if you're using a Note 7, make sure that thing is turned off for the entire flight. Now, they had a lot to prove with this new Galaxy Note 8, and in my review, I'm going to show you how they did that and actually made a phone that's probably the best all-around phone that I've ever used. Now, that's a pretty big claim, but let me go ahead and show you why I feel that way. First off, the design of this phone is really good, especially for a phone that has a 6.3-inch display. They've gotten rid of the bezels as much as they can at this point, and it does feel a little boxy, but it still feels premium in your hand, even though the back is a fingerprint magnet like no other. It still is a phone that I would love to use without the case just because of the way it actually feels. And really, Samsung has just been making big phones for a lot of years now, and you can see that they've done the best job that they can to make a big phone feel as small as possible. And doing a quick tour around the phone, on the right hand side, you'll find that power button. At the top, you'll find the SIM card / micro SD card tray, which is a welcome addition, especially since this phone just comes with 64 gigabytes of storage. And then on the bottom, you'll find USB-C and also that headphone jack making a return. And on the left hand side, you'll find the volume rocker and that dedicated Bixby button. Now let's talk about that Bixby button for a second. Now, I would love to have the ability to remap that button to do another function, maybe to open up my favorite app or double tapping to do something else. But Samsung hasn't allowed us to remap that button just yet, but they have just released a software update that will allow you to disable that Bixby button. So we're getting there, but hopefully they'll be able to allow us to remap it soon. Now let's get back to the display for a second. Now this is the same Infinity display that was released on the Galaxy S8 earlier this year. So it's incredibly crisp, it's incredibly bright. And that's one of the things that I really noticed about this phone, especially with using it outdoors, is that the brightness gets up to about 1200 nits. And if you want to compare that to some other competitors, the iPhone 7 gets between 600 to 700 nits depending on if you're using auto brightness or not. Then the S8 gets just over 1000 nits. So the Galaxy Note 8 is the best display that I've used on a smartphone, and for all situations, indoors, outdoors, it's going to be able to perform nicely. Now the Galaxy Note lineup of phones have always been known for being great productivity phones, and that continues with this Note 8, especially with the updates to the S Pen. Now some hardware updates include better pressure sensitivity, but really the main things I like with this new S Pen is the software enhancements. Now the one feature I use a lot is the ability to take notes while your screen is off, and they've increased the number of pages that you can keep of these particular type of notes, and you're never going to hit that limit, to be honest. And then also too, I like the new live message mode, which allows you to send an animated GIF, so you can actually just use the S Pen to write something out or to draw a funny picture and then send that as a text message to one of your friends. Or you can also write on top of a photo, and that makes for something that makes just something a little bit more unique than just your standard text message. And so of course, if you're an artist and you like to draw, this thing is going to be great for you. Or if you're in college or you have a job where you have to take a lot of notes, this thing is easily a tablet replacement, and it will replace your laptop for a lot of use cases as well for that. So again, I don't use the S Pen that much. Maybe I pull it out maybe once a week to play with it. That didn't sound right, but the S Pen is just really something to know that you have in there for when you do need it, it will come in handy. Now what's powering this phone to be able to do those type of tasks plus some is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 octa-core processor and also 6 gigabytes of RAM, which I really do like the extra RAM on this phone. And it's 2 more gigabytes of RAM versus the S8 Plus. And to be honest, I don't really see a performance difference between those two phones, but I think this really just sets this phone up for the future, especially if you plan on keeping it for a couple years as Samsung release more and more software updates. The extra 2 gigabytes of RAM could potentially help prevent this phone from slowing down from these future software updates. Now, speaking of software, this phone has shipped running on top of Android Nougat, and hopefully it will be updated to Android Oreo very, very soon. But the skin that Samsung has put on top of Android has gotten so much better over these years where I actually don't miss stock Android as much as I used to. The settings menu is concise where I don't find myself having to look around for a lot of different things. It's usually just a couple taps away. And just managing your applications and managing your home screen and all these little fine touches to it have really made for an experience where Samsung is not in the market of just throwing everything under the sun into the software just to say it has it, but they really fine-tune it to make sure it's going to run well with the hardware, but also to the user experience is better. And this software also does a great job at checking up on itself to make sure it's running in tip-top shape, and that can be closing out some applications, freeing up some storage, or making sure your memory usage is under control. And so I like how it's going to be constantly looking at those things and notifying you when some changes need to be made. Now, another new software feature that they introduced with the Galaxy S8 was Bixby, and that is on this Note 8, of course. Now, Bixby is still in its early stages, but it does a lot more than some of the other voice assistant competitors. Now, it can be integrated with your camera, so you can do things like identify certain landmarks or actually take photos of products and be able to find them and buy them online. And also, too, it will be able to complete certain tasks on your phone, like sending emails or text messages and things like that. And it goes a little bit deeper than what you would find with something like Siri. And so Samsung is being a little aggressive to try to get you to use Bixby, which is not really a bad thing. They have like this reward system set up where the more you use it, you'll get points, and because of that, you can buy certain things from them. And so I do like where Bixby is going, but I still find myself using Google Now a little bit more, but we'll see how that is in the future. But now finally, we've gotten to my favorite part of cell phone reviews. You know what it is. That is the camera portion. And the cameras on these Galaxy Note 8 do not disappoint. This Galaxy Note 8 has two 12 megapixel cameras that both have optical image stabilization inside of them. Now, having two cameras allows you to be able to zoom in to your subject without a major loss in quality. You lose a little bit, but not that much. And then also too, the optical image stabilization helps with this because when you are zoomed in, the shaking of you holding the phone is a little less noticeable with that OIS. And then the second benefit of having two cameras is the new live focus mode on this Note 8. Now, this is very similar to portrait mode on the iPhone 7 Plus, which allows you to blur out the background but to have your subject in focus. But Samsung does go one step further. They allow you to actually adjust that background blur while you're taking the photo and also after the fact. And so after you take the picture, you still have that slider to be able to adjust it, which I don't find myself doing that much, but it's there. And I also like the fact that Samsung actually takes two photos when you use this mode. So it takes the regular wide angle photo and also the telephoto photo. And so just in case that live focus mode didn't turn out the way you wanted to, you always have that backup plan with just using the regular photo itself. And one more thing to note with live focus is that I've never liked the performance indoors while using this mode. It's really made for outside use, but in low light performance, it's just not there yet. Hopefully next year they can fix that, but right now I don't recommend using it. But just focusing on the two cameras by themselves, they are fantastic. They produce great 4K video that is stabilized. Now, one thing that could be better is that I find that just using the auto mode that my pictures can sometimes be a little bit overexposed, and I have to use that slider to turn that down just a little bit. But other than that, it's really hard to take a bad picture with this phone. And so the camera is great, the display is great, the software is great, productivity with the S Pen, great. It's really hard to find a lot of bad things to say about this Note 8. Now, I do wish the fingerprint scanner was in another location. I still find myself greasing up my camera lens because that thing is right next to the camera itself. But overall, I do find that Samsung has really played it safe with this Note 8 and really nailed everything on the money. Now, one thing I don't like is that the battery is still a little bit smaller than the battery that's in the Galaxy S8 Plus, but I do feel that Samsung does have the best battery management software where it's automatically going to be telling you, hey, these apps are draining too much of your battery, and also to closing out some of those apps to make sure your battery doesn't drain too fast. And in the combination with that software and the battery size, even though it's smaller than the S8 Plus, I really didn't see any significant difference when battery life came into play. At the end of the day, I still felt that I had around 15 to 20% battery life left on my Note 8. So if you're looking for a phone that's great all around, that you really can't go wrong with, the Galaxy Note 8 fulfills that. But if you already have the Galaxy S8 or the S8 Plus, it makes it kind of hard to recommend this thing to upgrade unless you just really like using the features of the S Pen, or you really like the additional camera and the new things like live focus mode. But for everybody else, if you're looking for the best all-around phone that you can get, the Galaxy Note 8 is that and some. So this is my review on the Note 8. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some information out of it. Leave your comment down below what you think about this particular phone. And like always, follow me on all my social media networks. And also be sure to subscribe to me here on YouTube and hit that little notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And like always, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you later. Peace.